Good morning, everyone. Very warm welcome to Professor Dr. Nand Kumar, Deepika ma'am, and all the participants joining us once again for the virtual mental health series being organized by CBSC in collaboration with AIIMS, New Delhi. Over the past few days, we have explored different aspects of mental health, from nutrition and emotional balance to understanding stress and adolescent well being. Each session has helped us see mental health not as a single subject, but as a web of connections between mind, body, and daily life. Today's session takes this connection to a fascinating level: happy gut, healthy brain. We often hear that what we eat affects how we feel, but today we learn the science behind it also. The gut and the brain are in constant conversation, and this relationship plays a key role in our mood, focus, and emotional resilience. For children and adolescents, especially, understanding this connection can make a world of difference to both physical and mental well being. We are deeply honored to have with us Professor Nand Kumar, Professor of Psychiatry at AIIMS, New Delhi, President of the Mental Health Foundation India, and founding President of the Neuromodulation Society of India. Professor Kumar is one of India's most eminent psychiatrists with over 28 years of service at AIIMS. That's amazing. A pioneer in the field of neuromodulation, he established the country's first ICMR supported Center for Advanced Research and Excellence in Mental Health. His work spans clinical innovation, policy, and community training, from Project MATE, which builds resilience among schools, to initiatives like psychological first aid for prison inmates at the Harjay. With over 50 scientific publications and several patents, Dr. Kumar has shaped India's approach to adolescent community and digital mental health, making mental well-being accessible at every level, from institutions to grassroots. We are truly privileged to have him with us to help us understand how gut health and brain health are beautifully intertwined, and how small mindful choices can lead to happier, more balanced minds. Before we begin, as always, as I say, I'll like to remind all our participants to please post your questions only in the chat. These will be taken up towards at the end of the session. And with that, it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Dr. Nand Kumar to lead today's session on happy gut, healthy brain. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Niti, ma'am. Thank you, CBSC, for associating with us for this, I think, first of its kind series for mental health. So credit goes to Niti, ma'am. In fact, she started all this with us. I think 3 or 4 months back we discussed, and now we are here. It's really, really remarkable. Thank you so much. So I'm happy with a happy gut here. I think brain is also healthy. So before I go ahead, I would like to ask a question. Which is the most beautiful organ of the body that handles feeling and emotions? Heart. People say heart is the most beautiful organ. वो आप किसी का भी देख लीजिए, शायर का, गजल का, कवि का, is heart. So what is the most beautiful organ is the heart. And what are the most important organ of the body? So it's the brain and gut. It's fine. Visible slides?
So, perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. So the gut and brain, why I'm not trying to emphasize, is the most important organ, the brain and the gut. Why? Because it is mostly abused. And mostly abused in the sense, whatever we put in the gut, that's a use or abuse. Whether it is a food, whether it is a chemical, whether it is alcohol, substance, anything. And similarly, the brain also keep on getting used and abused most of the time. So if you are seeing something good with sensory system, it's a use. If we are seeing something troublesome, negative, it's abuse. If you are hearing something good, compatible to us, it's good. If not, then it's bad. So all sensory system that keep on getting exposed to sensory stimulus of any kind, that is use or abuse. And today, in today's world, with lot of food choices, lot of choices of the viewings, things, watching something, listening to people, and a lot of information. So this has become most abused organ, the happy gut and the brain. And most likely, this is the reason perhaps we are having a lot of problem in mental health and physical health. And if I know, say the entire health, that will not be a perhaps trouble. Why entire health? Because everything connect from the gut and the brain. Whatever you eat, you become that, and whatever you eat, your brain also behave like that. Just a simple example: when you go somewhere and when we have some examination, or when no, you have to perform somewhere, you feel different in the gut. So gut, you are not doing anything to the gut, but gut is getting affected. So if anything happens in the brain, it affects the gut. Anything happens in the gut, it affects the brain. How it happens? If there is a no, suppose constipation and loose motion, your stomach is not good, you feel bad. So the gut and brain is highly connected. Let us look at the brain first. What the brain is? It's an organ that is always awake, and the weight of the brain is approximately 1.3 kg. And brain is made up of what? Neurons, and not one, two. Approximately 86 billion neurons make the brain what brain is. And not only that, the brain cells are not working in the single isolation. They are always work in the combination. It's an integration, in fact, with neural pathway, and this makes a lot of connections. So without connection, brain cells can't work in the isolation, and these brain cells make almost 100 trillions of connection to each other. And it's interesting to note that no, the brain processes about 70,000 thoughts per day, approximately. That depends upon the cognitive function. But out of this 70,000 thoughts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 5, no, or something like maybe 50, that thoughts becomes predominant, and that leads to your action, and that get translated to the behavior. So this is the brain, and how it happens, why some thought get predominant and become the actionable thoughts, why not other thoughts. It's a different kind of no story and mechanism, but gut play a role. So the brain has a sibling, and sibling, now you must be knowing that it's a gut, and gut is the brain's best mate. Okay, so the brain has 86 billion neurons, 100 trillion connections, but gut is little heavier. That depends upon the person's gut, not on the weight, in fact, no. But overall, uh, average, the gut is heavier than the brain, and gut weighs approximately 3.1 kg, almost 3 times than the brain. But the gut has less number of neurons. The neurons in the brain gut is 100 to 600 millions only, but it's a much more powerful. I would say not less than brain. Why? Because the gut has approximately 100 trillions microbes, and these microbes are connected with the brain almost every time. And this is the reason once you feel something in the gut, suddenly it affects the brain. And once knows something happens, it's a bidirectional communication. So once something happens in the brain, once you are anxious, no, your gut get affected. Once you are too anxious, too much anxious, you develop basically lose motion. And this is the reason once you are stressed out all throughout the time, your gut is not good. And this is what we call irritable bowel syndrome. Gut is always no little heavy, in fact. You don't feel good. So the gut and brain has very strong, deep connection. So the gut is perhaps bigger than brain in some aspect, but they have a strong interconnectedness. And if you look at the gut has approximately more than 10 times more number of microbial cells than the neurons. Okay, and that totally roughly 100 trillion microbes. So it's a very beautiful no synchronicity. If you look at the gut brain, it has 100 trillion connections. If you look at the gut, it's a 100 trillion microbes representing. So somewhere both are no little bit almost similar in terms of number, but of course the role differs. But the most important is that the brain has neurons with same genetic makeup. But with the gut, there are approximately 5,000 different species of bacteria or microbes. That simply means the genetic makeup is much, much different in the gut than in the brain. And this is the reason, you know, the lot of, if you look at the chronic illness management, lot of genes expression can be changed through the gut, not through the brain. And why this happens? Because all the human cell contain same genome. But the bacterial population in the human gut is composed of thousands of different bacterial species and strains, and they have many, many different kind of genomes. So these genomes can lead to different gene expression. And that is the reason in one family, suppose there is a high genetic loading of diabetes or high genetic loading of the cancer. Like, it's very common now that cancer can manifest in the family. But this genetic expression of the cancer or any other medical illness can be changed. Genetic expression can be modulated, can be little bit altered with the help of gut. And that simply means gut means what? Whatever we eat, how you treat your gut, how you make it healthy. So, it's a very important research area in the medical science. And forget about research, it's a very important tool. Gut is very important organ to manage the brain. So what this microbiota is, we all know that we have a lot of bacteria, lot of fungi, lot of viruses normally present in the brain, gut, entire body, in fact, skin, everywhere. And the one of very common example is once you feel cold, if you're in the cold weather and if you are exposed to little very uh, uncomfortable cold situation, suppose air condition is on in the winter, or it is more than what you need, you develop a sore throat, gala kharab ho jata hai aapka. Why it happens? The bacteria does not come from outside. It is your own bacteria of the gut, of the throat, that becomes activated. So the temperature has so much to play a role. So we all have the human microbiota all over the body, and the most highest number of microbiota is in the gut. And this microbiota decides what your gut does to the food. You must have seen that some people digest food very nicely. उनका खाना बड़ा अच्छे से पच जाता है और कोई दिक्कत उनको नहीं होती है, कुछ भी खा लेते हैं पच जाता है. But not other people, and that depends upon not the strong gut. That depends on the microbiota of population. What kind of microbiota you are, what kind of microbes you are having in the stomach, in the gut. And that is the reason once you abuse your gut by either chemical or the alcohol or any other things or junk food or high fatty food, the gut becomes little altered and not able to digest food properly. So human microbiota is very, very important component of the gut, and that regulates almost entire body through mechanism that we will just come to know. So the gut microbiota is what? It's a collection of microorganisms that live within the GI tract, our gut. Gut means from esophagus to the anal canal, and this provides very crucial signal in the form of metabolites. Metabolites are those byproducts that basically comes out from the food, either food or whatever we eat. So whatever food eat, it gets it's broken, and the byproduct is metabolite. And how it is broken, how it is digested, that depends upon the microbiota. So any physiological host, like your body or anyone's body, is a host of lot of microbiota that helps to regulate the metabolism. And that's the reason the gut plays very, very important role, at least causal role, or if not causal role, then at least it is a correlative. There is very high, strong correlation between the development of the disease, any illness, or the health. You must have seen that today, approximately 80-90% people, they are not having alcohol, but still they have a fatty liver. And some people, no, they are vegetarian. They don't take meat also, not very high fatty food. Still they have fatty liver. That is what we call non-alcoholic fatty liver. So non-alcoholic fatty liver, obesity, inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, and lot of other condition like depression, anxiety, and some other serious medical condition like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, allergy, that depends upon the gut microbiota. So the things mostly start from the gut. And it is very well established in our ancient culture, Ayurveda also, that gut has a very important role to play. So once you make the gut better, your brain becomes better, your entire body becomes better, in fact. So from where this microbiota comes, the microbiota comes from where? So some people say no, develop after the birth, some say before the birth, but there is no consensus. But mostly it develops after the birth, but some component exists before the child gets birth. And this is the reason that the initial food for the child is so important in terms of breast milk. And the person who is having the breast milk, their immunity is much stronger than the person not having the breast milk or proper kind of food suitable to the gut. And it is very interesting to note that now what is happening, the immune system is becoming a little weaker. And that is because of change in the way the children are being reared. Like, lot of, we are focusing on lot of cleanliness, lot of hygiene. You don't touch this, don't touch that. That does not mean that one should be without hygiene, but it has a perhaps limitation, in fact. And most of the births are nowadays not normal delivery, and those persons who are having the delivery by cesarean section, by operation, surgical operation, they have a little poor gut, because when the baby is born, the gut microbiota little develop, because the birth passage itself contaminate the baby's gut, and that is a very important source of having the gut microbiota developed in the children. And whatever we eat, whatever we expose to the environment, that helps in developing an adult-like configuration by the age of 3 to 6 years. So the food habit is so important, as in the first session director was saying, Prof. M. Srinivas, the food habit is so important. Like by the 3 to 6 years of age, your microbiota is like your family, like your the home, like where you are staying. And that's the reason once you change the uh, geographical location and the food, the gut becomes troublesome. So how this gut microbiome functions? As I was trying to mention, whatever you eat, so whatever the nutrients are being harvested from the diet, आप जो भी खाते हैं उसके डाइट से जो भी निकल के आता है, कितना निकल के आता है, कितना डाइजेस्ट होता है, that depends upon the gut microbiota. So what kind of microbes are there? For example, if you take antibiotic or any medication that disturbs the gut, your food nutrient absorption becomes poor, and that also is the function of the uh, gut microbiota, that how much your immune system is. Like you must have seen, you must have perhaps seen some literature and some movies or some videos, that our immunity depends upon the food we take, and that is mainly because of the lot of amino acid nutrients that maintain the body's immunity. If I try to simplify that, there is an intestinal barrier in the gut. If that barrier is weakened, so lot of gut microbiota moves out of that broken barrier, and that can create the illness. So this barrier is important, and there is something called plasma metabolome. So that simply means a lot of food that is getting digested in the stomach, in the gut, and these foods are broken down into multiple components like essential fatty acid, steroid, peptides, and so many things. And these byproducts, multiple small products are called plasma metabolome. There are millions and millions, in fact, in the gut, and that basically take the message from the gut to the brain or any other organ, primarily to the brain. So that is the reason something moves in the between the brain and the gut, that is faster than the uh, communication of the nerves, and that is basically because of the plasma metabolomes. And these metabolomes are of various kind, as I mentioned, like peptides, steroid, pollutants, So whatever you eat, that is a pollutants. A pollutant to eat, you feed something like intoxicated food, or maybe some medications also, like drugs also. We have seen that uh, lot of medicines, Ayurvedic medicine, Tibetan medicine, Vedic medicines. So no, if not properly manufactured, they also create lot of problem. So how it affect the brain? It is very interesting to note that once you develop some illness, say for example anxiety or depression or any other illnesses, so that affects the brain hormones. And we keep on listening also that because of neurochemical changes, neurotransmitter changes, the brain becomes the ill, or the person may become depressed or anxious. But interesting to note that most of these neurotransmitters, say for example serotonin, they are produced in the gut, not in the brain. So once the gut is fine, you know, it can produce own serotonin also. That is called happy hormone, and dopamine plus other neurotransmitter like amino acids. So if you just try to look into that, if you feel bad, and if you make your gut active in terms of physical activity, if you increase that, say you are going for the walk, or you run, or you just become active bodily, so your gut is also active, and the breathing is little faster and deeper. The breathing is faster and deeper, then that also lead to production of the serotonin hormone. And if it is little slow and you are not active, so that may lead to poor production of serotonin, and that may lead to the little low mood in fact. Not only that, the gut also affects the some sort of cells in the brain that is called microglia, and this microglia is supporting cell in the brain. So these cells, microglial cells, support the neurons to maintain their neural connectivity, neural structure, and other mechanism, so that they should work properly. So once microglia is not properly activated, it is in disorganized manner. It leads to poor neural circuitry management, and that can lead to a lot of disease, what we call neurodegenerative illnesses. So, there are several pathways that affect the gut microbiota and that communicate from the brain. And these pathways are multiple pathways like immune system pathway, vagus nerve, enteric nervous system, neuroendocrine system, circulatory system, lot of things are there. But the most important is the vagus nerve, because vagus nerve is the nerve that connects the gut to the brain. And that nerve can be modulated, that can be modulated, that we can work on that nerve, because this nerve has some sort of system that regulate the system called autonomic nervous system. And autonomic nervous system is so important that it does things automatically. Like most of things are there, we are not aware of. Like we are breathing, we are not aware of. We have taken food, food is getting digested, we are not aware of. Our heart is beating, we are not aware of. So multiple things in the body is happening, we are not aware of. This is called autonomic nervous system. So the vagus nerve contains the major part of the autonomic nervous system, and 80% of vagus fiber is basically the parasympathetic fibers and sympathetic fibers. So if you look at the sympathetic fiber function, the sympathetic fiber is fiber that activate you, that makes you active, and parasympathetic is make you relax. So once you are active, the sympathetic has to be more active. Once you are relaxed, then parasympathetic has to be more relaxed, or it should be active. So most of the brain, gut and brain communication depends upon in terms of neurology, the vagus nerve. So if the vagus is healthy, it can communicate in a much better way. So what this vagus does? So if you look at this uh, figure, so vagus connect the gut and the brain. So multiple part of the brain like thalamus, amygdala, and a lot of other part, it is connected to the multiple part of the gut like stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and so many. And it is very interesting to note that most of the communication go up from the gut to the brain. Like 90% of vagus nerve fibers are afferent fibers. Afferent means that take the message from the gut to the brain, and only 10% of fibers are those fiber who send the message from the brain to the gut. So what it means, like most of the communication is going from the gut to the brain with the help of the metabolomes, and these metabolomes are so fast, so travel so fast, and they are neurotransmitters. That means they can flow without any circulatory support. So most of the message goes from the gut to the brain, 90%. And that send the message to the brain that when you are not feeling good, when you are feeling hungry, when you are feeling full, when your energy is low, or metabolism is slow, or it is a high. And uh, the important part is that this vagus activity can be modulated. So the role of mental health in this entire gut-brain axis uh, is modulated through the vagus nerve. Like, vagus nerve can be stimulated by the breathing. And once you take very fast breathing, vagus is little active. Once you take deep, slow breathing, vagus is relaxed. So parasympathetic fiber becomes more active. So by modulating the vagus nerve by any means, like either by breathing or by massage, or by some eye movement, by some facial muscle movement, you can regulate the vagus nerve by lot of yoga and meditation, physical movement. You can do whatever you want to do to activate the vagus nerve, but you should know the technique of that. So we keep on talking about this, stress nowadays. Stress is the $1 billion market nowadays, and most of the stress can be managed, just because of modulating the brain gut axis. That means simply modulating the food part and the vagus nerve. If you can modulate that, most of the stress can be managed. Because what we have seen, what we feel, that most of the stress are perceived stress. So as stress is not actually there, but you perceive. Say for example, you expect that you will get 90% marks in the examination, but you are not able to put the full effort, and you are not getting those 90%. You are getting 80%. That means you think that no, you have not got 90%, so you lost 10%. So it's basically perceived stress. So this happens in almost all the area, not in the study, in fact, in the study, in the professional life, in the school life, in the with the doctors, with the engineers, and so many people. Another thing that you must have seen that a lot of diabetic population are there in the country now, and India is said capital of diabetes of the world, and that is because of the poor uh, gut brain axis, or I would say poor microbiota population of the gut, and the poor food, because we're abusing the gut in a very, very different way. There is no physical activity, fiber in the food is very, very less, and the weight gain is much more. So that also precipitate, or that also causes the diabetes. Then if you remember, no, lot of time when you take food, heavy food at night, you are not able to sleep properly. Why it happens? Because most of the energy that brain is needed at night to work, to maintain the body, that goes to the gut. Or in very simpler word, the gut metabolism becomes faster, in fact, because gut need to work very hard to digest the food, and that affect the circadian rhythm disruption. And if we take something like caffeine or tea at night, or the light is not appropriate, intense light is there, bright light is there, we look at keep on looking at mobile also, that also affect the circadian disruption and circadian rhythm. So the gut has very important role to manage all this through the brain. So what are the basic ways to improve the gut health? The food. This was also discussed in the first session. The food that affects the mood. So if you just feel that lot of food that affects your mood, if you feel if you take something like a very junk food, uh, like a very fatty and high calorie food, like fast food, you feel little low. At that point of time, you may feel good. Otherwise, you feel low. And When you take a lot of refined sugars like candies, cookies, soft drinks, the mood swings are much more. That we can all feel, in fact, whenever we take this kind of food. And when we take some good foods, like what we discussed earlier, like nuts, seeds, tofu, lentils, beans, eggs, chicken, fish, good protein, in fact, we feel generally happy, we feel good because that affects the microbiota of the gut and that affects the brain. And when we take some food like fish, those food which is having unsaturated fat, that also help us to have good emotional balance. And if we take something like those people who are non-vegetarian, they take lean meat, eggs, soya, beans, others, they feel good. So even if we don't read it, we don't learn it, just if we feel it, what food is going to help us and what food is going to give what kind of feeling to us, perhaps that also helps. So it is important to explore the food for the healthy gut, and we should take whatever suits us, in fact, and whatever maintain our good gut microbiota. So it is very common observation that our mood, no, our food chase the mood or mood chase the food. It's a vice versa. So once we take white bread, processed meat like bacon, hot dog, cold cuts, sodas, drinks, French fries, junk foods, burgers, then we feel little low, bad, and our gut microbiota also gets changed in a pathological way. If we take dark leafy vegetables, yogurt, nuts, pistachio, almonds, egg, fish, whole grain pulses, and other vegetables, no, then the food is little uh, good, and the microbiota also becomes more healthier, and mood is also good. And this is the entire basically science behind the food. So a lot of foods are taken as a medicine. What the director said on the day one of the this virtual session. Another thing is like physical activities. Any kind of physical activity that leads to a little bit of sweating and that leads to faster movement of the stomach. That also modulates the vagus nerve and that leads to good feeling, in fact. Whatever it is, whether it is running, hiking, lifting weight, or no, just breathing faster, deeper, that is a physical activity and that can improve the vagal tone and that can increase the gut activity and little bit change microbiota and that also help to have a good mood. Of course, that also helps like yogurt, pickles, and the gut microbiota also leads to the better perception, memory, and thinking and cognition. So, how to know your gut is healthy? If you feel good, energetic, you think no, the gut is usually healthy. If you have a regular bowel movement pattern, gut is healthy. If you have a good appetite, your gut is healthy. If you are able to sleep properly, better sleep, your gut is healthy. If your digestion is good, of course, gut is healthy. And your food sensitivity is much, much less if your gut is healthy. So, what is the message? The message with the request is love your gut with proper food and nutrition. Don't abuse it. And become aware how your mood follows your food and whatever you drink and you take and water also. Like lot of soft drinks can lead to change in the mood that we can feel, in fact. And if you abuse the gut with the substances like that can alter the gut, maybe alcohol, maybe beer or anything else, that also can affect the mood. Of course, physical activity is very, very important. Once you do physical activity, your gut brain axis is properly maintained, your vagus tone is good, and that can improve the brain health also. And the most important tool is a deep abdominal breathing. Once you're able to have a deep breathing, that can activate the vagus nerve and you feel good. And please don't abuse the gut. Use the gut so that we can maintain the brain properly. We have left a good time for question answer.
There are a lot of questions, sir, and I have been trying to note down also, but unfortunately, I don't know why people are still into good morning mode, and we are all educated people. At times, I really feel why the others don't understand. And please don't ask about certification and all at the moment. That I will address later on. I think we have to be really, really sincere enough to try to get to the forum with the viewpoint that we are learning something that has to be disseminated further. So all those queries I will take up
There is
later on.
a question. There is a question in the chat bot.
Ah,
What
there is
is
a
the
question
daily?
in the this thing.
What is
I first
the, okay?
What
Shall
happens is that there's a lot of questions I've tried to note down also. So I'll start off with one of the questions that had come up from the participant, and it says, Professor Kumar, we often hear the phrase, what we eat affects how we feel. Could
right.
you explain in simple terms how the gut and the brain communicate with each other?
Okay. So, no, this is a very common saying that whatever you eat, you feel like that. So, whatever you eat, what kind of food you are going to eat, that affect the entire microbiome system, and that leads to the what kind of protein you are giving to the body and the brain. Say, for example, no, we call something like metabolome. So, whatever we eat, if I'm eating good protein, like the people say sugar is bad, but sugar is so important because healthy sugar, no brown, non-refined sugar are essential. Like if the food is not having any kind of sugar, they will feel very low, you can't survive also. So the brain must have the good blood glucose level. So the basic principle is, no, whatever staple diet, whatever kind of gut microbiota we have developed from the beginning, that may be maintained. And whatever a staple diet we have, like say for example routinely what were we eating, like dal, chawal, vegetables, routinely what we're eating, I think these are sufficient food. And most of us don't need supplements. Suppose if we're taking a food, no, like there is some sort of misperception nowadays, but one should not take fat. But fat is also essential. Without fat, your hormones, lot of hormones cannot be manufactured in the body. Say, for example, no, steroid, like good cholesterol is important for mm, having the good hormone like dopamine, like serotonin, like norepinephrine. These hormones are important to run the body and entire autoimmune system.
Thank you so much, sir, for this clarity on this query that was put up. There is one Dharvi Gupta on the chat. She's asking how to help people understand when food affects their mood, because people tend to go by the short term effect of dopamine kick after having junk food and feel that it has improved their mood.
Actually, whenever we take the food, say for example junk food, we feel the craving for the sugar, and that craving gets satiated. So उस वक्त तो बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, we feel very good. But no, if you feel after that, maybe after some time, maybe after half an hour, you feel little heavy. Your stomach is heavy, your concentration is also a little poor. So any food that have a good essential fatty acid, like the fruits, like the nuts, like the fish, like the egg, they are the healthy food for the brain and the gut for the entire body. Any food that has a saturated fat, like trans fat, and any food that has no high sugar content, not complex sugar, like sugar in the honey is very good sugar, but sugar in the chini is no very bad because this is not complex sugar, raw sugar. So that have a quick effect, no, but it ultimately
Right.
affects negatively. So the
Justine,
basic, sorry.
yes,
The basic
yeah,
rule
please
is
go ahead.
whatever we eat, no, like today the lot of marketing of the food, like expensive food, like avocado and no very expensive fruits. But if you look at that, whatever fruit we eat, we are habituated to eat, that are as good as those foods. Like say for example, guava. Guava's antioxidant is as much as avocado. There is no much difference. So whatever seasonal fruit, seasonal vegetables are available, they are good if it suits you.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think there is a gut-friendly
Perfectly.
foods or simple dietary change you would recommend. Then, I think yes, there is a question from Sangeeta madam. The gut-friendly foods. Yes, in examination it is so important. So what happens in the examination? People don't eat food. So if they don't eat a good food, the no the blood glucose concentration goes down, and the nutrients are not available for the brain to work. Like brain needs a good fatty acid. Brain leaks essential fatty acid to work, to have a good concentration. If you don't eat that, it is not available to the brain and not available to the entire body also. The concentration goes down. So normally it happens that people take a lot of tea and coffee during the exam examination period. So mostly it gives you instant energy, but no nutrients are there. So no good concentration or focus is achieved.
Yeah, I think you've already taken the query there, which you saw in the chat because somebody had asked, and it's a very common belief now that the kids and even the adults are now onto coffee, thinking that gives an instant energy and an instant
I
mood.
think there is a question now, how does stress affect the gut health? Very good question. So the what happens in the stress? No, I was trying to mention that once you are stressed out, so your sympathetic tone is high. Like you're alert, you are very alert, and once you are very alert, your autonomic tone is also high. Once it is high, your entire body is at alert mode. You are not relaxed. And if the sympathetic tone is high in the gut, so gut is always at the alert mode also. So the gut does not have the no mechanism, does not have the proper microbiome system, does not have proper blood supply to get relaxed and digest the food. So in that way, it affects the gut health. So you must have seen that the people are nowadays very, their stomach is fine, they're very healthy, looks healthy, but always at the constant stress. So always at alert mode. So alert mode means more sympathetic activation, less relaxation, and the gut is always a little bit of heavy, little bit of the digestion is always difficult. So it is always important to have some relaxation in between. And the best way to relax is the some sort of basic yoga. Nothing, just do the breathing. If you're able to do breathing, abdominal breathing, diaphragm breathing, that is one of the very powerful tool, in fact, that can help you to relax your gut and your brain also. And this is the reason that the stress is the reason that a lot of people come to the gastroenterology OPD to show the doctors, and they have irritable bowel syndrome. So we were just discussing with our colleague, the approximately 40% of the patient who goes to the gastroenterologist department, they have inflammatory bowel syndrome or irritable bowel syndrome, and that is because of the mainly stress. And stress is not visible most of the time. Like if I have lot of things on my plate, I'm not able to do, that's a stress out. But we have a misconception nowadays of multitasking. We try to do a lot of multitasking and we think that we are very productive, but actually it is other way around. So that affects your focus, that affects your concentration also.
True,
There is
sir.
some question,
I agree.
one question is there, what will be the effect
Yeah.
of taking supplements? I think the supplements are very, very common nowadays, and especially supplement of vitamin B12, calcium, and folic acid. So clinically, we see in our clinic, like the people who take a lot of supplements, usually they develop a very high dose of hypervitaminosis, especially B12, and that also lead to some sort of numbness, irritability, and poor gut microbiome system also develop. Then other supplements, most of supplements are Ayurvedic supplements, and they are food supplements, comes in the nutraceuticals category. And it is not uncommon to see that these supplements are having a lot of contamination by the heavy metals and other things that leads to fatty liver, or that leads to the uh, kidney problem, renal damage. So it is there. And that also affects the entire gut microbiome system. That depends what kind of contamination the supplement has. So supplement is basically not bad to take, but it should be properly investigated. If we have some sort of deficiency, then we should take supplement. Otherwise, it should be avoided.
Yeah, well said, sir. I think clearly put in the answer to this challenging question that you have
I think there is
defined.
a
I think,
question: can too many probiotics help? I think probiotic
uh,
is an important component to maintain the gut microbiota system, but too much probiotic also does not help, because as I mentioned, there are approximately 5,000 plus, or approximately 5,000 kind of bacteria are there, or microbiomes are there in the gut. So the probiotic does not have all that. and it is not a supplement. So the normal natural activity of a gut that need to be maintained with the probiotic, prebiotic food, other foods, and gut does lot of thing itself. You don't have to do much. Only thing that you don't have to abuse it. You don't have to eat too much. You don't have to eat much less. Like at times, no, we take lot of food, overeating. That also affect the brain, and there is just some sort of at times trend also to have less food, intermittent fasting, and it is reported that intermittent fasting also creates some issues because no gut is deprived, and it is also commonly seen that people don't eat properly all meals with the assumption that there is going to be weight loss, but that also does not work because once you eat less food or not in appropriate time and quantity, the body's metabolism goes slow down also, and if it slows down, then there is no much calories burned, and there is calorie preservation. So that leads to weight gain, not weight loss. So as we were discussing on the first session on 4th October, food is also like a medicine. How much food should we take in? That's important. What are some ways to keep our gut healthy? I think most important way is to take a regular meal, not too much of food, not less food. Take a healthy food. I think best formula is take a staple diet, what you have been taking through the all throughout, and one should not go by the campaign also. Like sometimes I listen that I don't eat wheat, but we have been taking wheat since so many years, so it's not bad. Like no, one should have a gluten-free food, but our body is so much conditioned with the gluten since so many generations. So what is harm in that? It is not affecting badly. I think how do antibiotics affect? Actually, you can feel that also. Once you take antibiotic, the gut is little heavier. There is mostly loose motions and gastric upset. So the antibiotic alters the gut microbiota, just like another food. No, if you just take it in a very technical way, anything that is given to the gut, if the gut is conditioned to manage that food, the gut behaves properly. If the gut is uh, something is foreign to the gut, say from antibiotic, because antibiotic means it kills the biotic system in the gut. So it is effective for those killing of those bacteria. It is meant for that, but for other it is harmful. It is something like we treat some particular part of the illness, but other side effect is also there. So the best way to curb side effect of antibiotic is take proper probiotic food, maybe the B complex, maybe the curd, or whatever suits you. But any probiotic should help to counter the side effect of antibiotics. What does caffeine do? I think a lot of people who take caffeine, they can feel it. Once you take coffee, you feel good for some time, and that is because of sympathetic stimulation. So caffeine stimulate our sympathetic nervous system. But if it keep on stimulating all the time, so it will be a sit at high tone, and that means we're always at the high stress tone. So there are a lot of hormone that we call norepinephrine, epinephrine that to set at high tone, and that leads to more anxiety. So once the you are caffeine habituated and the level of caffeine goes down, then you feel withdrawal symptoms like tremors, anxiety, sweating. So it's always good to have less caffeine, as less as possible. So it can be good for concentration for short time, but otherwise, no, it's not good. One of the best way to have a good concentration is you can try that. If you can deep, long breathing for 21 times, you feel good. But it should be deep breathing. It should not be shallow breathing. So the red meat leads to, it's not bad, it's a good source of protein. But what happens, no, most of the red meat, they increases the level of triglyceride and low density cholesterol. And that is not good for the health. In fact, that leads to choking of the vascular system, and that leads to more atherosclerosis. That means, it make the circulatory system, the vessels recede, and that leads to blood pressure and the cardiac problem. There are some supplement that can be taken on daily basis. That depends what kind of food you take. In fact, if your food is healthy, if you take normal routine food that the body used to, no need of supplements. Simple, like, no, the pulses what we take, the rice what we take, the vegetables, green vegetables, colorful vegetables, that what we take, or fish or egg. So supplement not needed. But if there is some medical condition and that medical condition leads to the deficiency, then some supplement should be taken. Say, for example, zinc supplement, some iron supplement that can be taken. But it's always better to replace the supplement with the food. Like if you take papaya, take palak, no, it's a good food to supplement the iron. There's a question. I struggle with poor gut in the examination. So one way to manage is just look at the your food habit, what you eat. Mostly in the examination, we don't eat much, and when the stress is too high, the appetite is less. So just try to do the deep breathing exercise 3 times in a day. Say, for example, have a deep breath, like a long deep breath. Don't hold it, release slowly 21 times. So if you do it 21 times, it hardly takes 3 to 4 minutes. And if you do it 3 to 4 times in a day, it certainly relaxes the body and the entire, gut, and you feel good, because that leads to parasympathetic stimulation. And once that parasympathetic stimulation is there, your entire brain and gut is relaxed, and you can focus more. There is some question: extreme dietary change is a good or bad? I think extreme of any kind is not good unless it is indicated medically. Say, for example, we take B12 supplements. So B12 supplements are basically high dose supplements. But if it is needed, if there is a deficiency for any medical condition or because of poor nutrition, then it is good. Otherwise, of course, it's not good. There is a source. Now, what is the B12 source for vegetarian? Okay, so it's I think the walnut is important. The walnut, almonds, and all colorful vegetables, they're the good source for B12 for the vegetarians.
I think you have really taken a lot of queries somehow here because of some interconnectivity of the network. I was not really able to pitch in, but now most of the queries that we are getting on the chat is related to whether one should have a chia seed or one should have oats and things like that. So these are lot of dietary things, and sir has in general explained about how a good and a bad food habits one can inculcate. So thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful and enriching session, and thank you for the wonderful participants that we had. And sir, you'll be really happy to know there are a lot of schools which are taking up this session with all the students and adolescents sitting in the auditoriums or in their halls, and they have put these sessions on the big screen. So good kudos to all those schools who have really tried to take the full advantage of these sessions. And this particular session would also be available on our CBSC headquarters YouTube channel. So y'all can visit and revisit, and the others can also, really go through this wonderful session that has been curated by Professor Dr. Nand Kumar only for all of you here. Thank you so much, sir. And now I'll invite Neha for the formal vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Niti ma'am. On behalf of CBSE, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Nand Kumar, Department of Psychiatry, and the entire AIIMS team for enlightening Happy Gut, Healthy Brain session. The knowledge imparted was both thought-provoking and uplifting, effectively empathizing the vital connection between gut health and cognitive well-being. This valuable knowledge has greatly enhanced our understanding and motivated us to adopt healthier habits that support both digestive and brain health. We are truly grateful for the effort and dedication invested in organizing such a meaningful and impactful program. We also extend Our heartfelt thanks to our respected Secretary Sir, Shri Himanshu Gupta, for his unwavering support and encouragement, which made these valuable sessions possible. A big thanks to all the participants for their enthusiastic attendance. We hope you found this session both useful and engaging. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.